Thanks for joining the Good Neighbor podcast. I'm Tish Taylor with Concerned Citizens of St. John. Today we're talking to Ms. Bria Calvin, who's going to talk to us about her work with the Environmental Defense Fund and how wonderful she is to our community and all the communities along the river parishes. Thank you for joining us today, Bria.
Thank you so much, Tish. I appreciate it.
How you doing, girl?
I'm doing so good. I always love coming to talk to you and just
Yes.
seeing what's going on.
Tell me a little about yourself. How did you get started in the movement?
Yeah, okay, so I'm from New Orleans, born and raised. And, I think it's multiple things, but I'll kind of go back to when I was a kid. I was raised with my great grandmother, who was already, her name is Virginia Evelina Collins. She went by Mama Dara Salamunga Abubakari. And she was, so she changed her name at a certain age because she was a civil rights activist, like locally in the state of Louisiana in general and along the South in general. She did the Million Man March with Dr. King like back then. She was really heavy into Garveyism before then as well. She, led a local chapter here in New Orleans of the Republic of New Africa. Like, she did a lot of different things. And so she was an activist. I feel like that was what was in my bones, right? She was a community leader. She did, she helped to help Black people learn how to vote, like to do the test back there when they had that really crazy test for Louisiana. Yeah, to learn how to vote. And so, yeah, just in my bones. We're from Holly Grove, which, if you know, generally, New Orleans in and around has also a lot of environmental justice sites where we have experienced environmental racism, where Black communities were built on top of swampland and, all kind of dumps. Exactly. The people in Gordon Plaza just got their resolution for those things. So I think it's just in me. And I went to high school, and I remember I took an environmental science AP class, and we had to do a big project at the end of the year, and mine was focused on how chemicals and like different pollutants impact our soil and our groundwater and our ecosystems. And I don't even think back then I recognized what I was doing. Like, I didn't really know about environmental justice as the terms back then, but it kind of found me. And so when I went to college, I went to Florida A&M University, the #1 public HBCU in the country, which I always plug that because it really says a lot about what they teach us, what we learn, and the success that comes out of there. And I originally went to school for engineering, thinking I would be a chemical engineer. Mm-hmm. My mom was already a lawyer, and I was always fighting it, like, I don't want to be a lawyer. But then ultimately, I left engineering, and I was like, what am I going to do? I had already been in 3 years in engineering school. And to make a long story short, I decided I didn't want to do engineering anymore. So I ultimately found environmental studies through just looking at different programs that my school offered. I found the major with environmental studies. And my first course when I switched over into that new major was environmental justice.
Yes.
And I just remember reading about Dr. Bullard, reading books from Dr. Bullard and from Dr. Wright, Beverly Wright, and it was inspiring to me. And I realized that's what I had been looking for.
Yes.
Even when I was in chemical engineering, I always wondered, how do we get rid of the chemicals? How do we dispose of these chemicals into where do they go once we dispose of them? And no one would ever answer that part of the question because that wasn't their side of the work, right? So I think environmental justice and this kind of work found me. After I graduated undergrad with a bachelor's in environmental studies, and then I had a minor in chemical engineering, I went to law school because everyone was like, you should go to law school. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll go to law school. And I went to law school. I focused in environmental law mostly, and because my goal was environmental justice ultimately. And I did so many internships. I interned for the EPA. I interned for the Department of Justice in their Environmental and Natural Resources Division, for the Sierra Club. Interned with so many environmental kind of spaces and some other non-environmental spaces as well. And I was like, I think I love this. I feel like I love this. It feels like me. I got to lead I was a president of our Environmental Law Society in law school, and I just kept doing it. And every time I would try to do something a little bit different, it just kept coming back to me.
Yeah, it pulls you.
No matter what. Yeah, so now I'm with the Environmental Defense Fund. I've been there for about 3 years, and my work is amazing. My technical title is a project manager for Louisiana political affairs. But it's genuinely a bit of everything. I feel like I'm doing policy and law stuff, but then I'm also doing, community work and really on the ground and helping folks, obviously, like you guys at Concerned Citizens, with just different types of community-based projects to really address the environmental justice issues in Louisiana. Long story.
Ooh. That's not a long story. That's an amazing ride you just took me on.
Yes.
Because it all was the same.
Yeah.
It's like you stayed in the same park.
Yes, literally, no matter what. I was trying. I was like, okay, maybe I'll I did some community engagement work. I was like, okay, I love this, but it's still, even with the community engagement work, it was always environmental related. So I guess it's me. Like, my dad always told me I was his earth child. And it's funny that I feel like it's come very much full circle.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
Yes, it has. So talk about the Environmental Defense Fund. What do they do?
Yeah, so the Environmental Defense Fund is an international nonprofit organization and, somewhat non-government organization as well, so NGO as well. And, it's what we call a big green, where it's a large organization that does environmental work, environmental, energy, water, all this related work, and we kind of span across all different sectors of that work. So we may be doing work on methane emissions. We may be doing work on air monitoring and air quality and human health. Maybe doing work on water and agriculture and, it's literally all types of stuff, right? And coastal work. We do so many different things. And so, again, international. So we have different kind of offices and major offices in other places across the world. Mm-hmm. But our main market is the U.S. region. And, we have specifically now we have kind of political affairs and even deeper into state affairs. And so my direct work is in, like I said, Louisiana, where basically we are addressing the different environmental issues that are happening in Louisiana, right? And I'm sure we can name those, starting from where we're working with air quality and air monitoring and needing to figure out those things. Like I said, we work on methane and methane emissions a lot and what's going on with methane, orphan oil and gas wells or just oil and gas wells in general. We work on coastal issues. We work on the different development of of hydrogen and like the hydrogen facilities and these CCS facilities. Like we kind of span across a lot of things and try to jump in where we can be helpful and useful, whether it's policy, like data, whether it's, just science and research. Like we do literally everything. Yeah, so we typically bring in, we have a lot of focus teams who work, like I said, across those different areas who we will bring their expertise in and just say, hey, like, Louisiana's experiencing this issue. How can you help us here to kind of figure this out, right? Yes. And it's been really rewarding work. I can honestly say that we're not perfect, but we really try to find the ways that work, literally.
And I think that's what you have to do. You just have to keep trying.
Yeah.
You have to keep trying, and then come back and try again.
Yeah.
And over again, and refining everything.
Absolutely.
And it's so wonderful that we got to partner with the Environmental Defense Fund at Johns Hopkins through Deep South Center for Environmental Justice with the air monitoring program.
Yes.
Talk about that with me.
Yeah, so, our air monitoring work has been so interesting, I think, across the board. We've had a few different kind of scaled projects that have been in, like you said, collaboration with some folks like Deep South Center, like Johns Hopkins, like Colorado State University, who have been able to, kind of give us different types of methods and devices for air monitoring to help the community's air monitoring. So, not to get too much into detail, because of course we're waiting on, a lot of the data to come out and like can't really talk about all the details of it right now. I would love to, right? But like some of it's just like waiting for a study to come out because, I'm not a scientist and I wouldn't want to come here and be like, oh, this is what we're seeing, right? But I want to be able to say that we have had people out here who are experts at this, who have been doing this for a long time, who are, who really care about Louisiana and care about the Cancer Alley area specifically, in this river corridor, this 80-mile stretch, and the communities who are being impacted to say, like, what is going on, right? Yes. And they've come down, they've really made state-of-the-art equipment, sometimes higher level, sometimes some of even the EPA monitors and some of the LDQ monitors, that they've created these really amazing devices to be able to measure and see what's going on in our air, in y'all's air, right?
And that's Colorado State University.
So it's
oh my
both.
God.
Yes.
And Johns Hopkins.
Yeah.
I mean, they're hands-on. They're out here, and they've been wonderful to work with us and patient.
Yes.
While we work with the monitors and coming out and making sure that everything is running smoothly, and
yes.
including you. So now you actually work on air monitors as well.
I'm like, it's funny enough, I'm like, I think I ended up being an engineer anyway. Like, I'm a community science engineer. It's so funny because I'm like, yesterday I had to like go work myself on devices. I had to pulling out batteries, moving the wires, and I was like, who am I? Like, I'm literally an engineer at this point. As much as I ran from it, I'm like, maybe I should get my doctorate. No, I'm joking. I don't have.
It's time. It's time.
No more school, right? For right now, at least. But even with Colorado State, they've been so amazing. They literally pretty much like built this device, this AirPin device from scratch. Yeah. Like, it's been a few years. It wasn't just for our project. Initially started kind of before that, but we were able to get it really customized, especially for Louisiana. I don't know if you remember that. A lot of the reasons why this project got a little bit delayed and pushed back too was literally because they were trying to make sure that everything they had in that device was going to properly measure what the community specifically requested. Like,
Right.
so these are things that like y'all requested, for us to be able to measure ethylene oxide and all those things, right? That that hadn't been measured, as much before. Yeah.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
or at all before. Yeah.
And to deal with the humidity with the
Oh,
monitor.
that
was a
has
little
been
setback.
so funny. Honestly, like it was funny because I remember having a conversation with them. And again, I'm in this space with these are all amazing engineers. Like, people who've been working on this stuff for so long. They're, mechanical and chemical and all types of engineers and data sciences and all. And I'm just, this little old, not even a practicing attorney, like, girl in a room with them. Like, oh, okay, well, and everyone's like, we don't know what's going on. We sending these tubes down. Some things aren't working. This is happening. I'm like, well, have I considered the weather? Like, maybe it's the weather. We are in extreme heat. We're hitting temperatures that's 100, like 100, whatever. And so I'm like telling them, like, it could be some things with the weather, the humidity, all these things that y'all don't have the climate up there to test because they're up at Fort Collins, Colorado. They don't have the same climate, as we have down here. They don't know what's like literally. I'm like, and even if they do a field test, it's only as close to what's in the field there, not to what's going on here. So that part has been so important to recognize that that's why we need people on the ground. That's why we need the connection of somebody physically here to like see what's going on and be able to also give that perspective. Like, and so it's funny because when I brought it up, I was thinking like, no, they're not going to know this, and this isn't any important information. And I was telling one of the engineers, he was like, you should say that in the main meeting. Yeah. And so I said it, and they were like, oh yeah, like, we didn't really consider that. And I'm laughing because I'm like, in my mind, it's just an automatic consideration, right? Like, I know it's going to be humid here. I know it's going to be hot here. I know that may change some things here.
Yeah, but they're looking at so many other factors that's engineering-wise that sometimes they don't think that far out.
Exactly.
And all of that attests to the credibility of the monitors because they have to tweak it specifically for this region, for the humidity, for the extreme heat. And that makes it even more viable. Something that we can trust.
Yeah.
The information is valid because we know that they've done everything possible to make sure that everything is done and collected in a way that's best.
And then, we talk about extreme heat, but also extreme cold, right? Like, and also high weather and extreme weather events. We just got 30-degree weather 2 days ago, whatever it was, right? And it's like randomly, then in the midst, right, it goes right from 30 degrees back to 90 or, or 80 in between. So that, I know that's having an impact that they're not used to up there. I'm sure those things have an impact on the device, on the tubes, on the, what the data we collect. And the wind, how it flows, what's changing. We get some of the most crazy extreme weather back and forth as anybody does. So it has been interesting to see how that does impact, which we don't fully know, right? Some of it's still just like in between testing, seeing what's happening on the ground in real time to know what's going on. So to say this is like kind of the first of its kind in a way of, this project. And not saying there hasn't been other community air monitoring efforts. There has been significantly. There are so many organizations who have put their blood, sweat, and tears into getting community air monitors out here. So, just realizing though also that, as we develop these things and consistently try to make sure we're getting the right data, it's important to recognize that on the ground impacts make a huge difference in even how we can measure and what we can see.
And to understand that the monitors used by the state may actually not be as how can I put it? Updated, calibrated in a manner that's conducive of a specific climate. To put it mildly.
I think that the most important thing to like warrant with the state's monitors is like how often are they maintaining and doing just maintenance on them and operation on them. How often are they actually coming and checking on them, right?
And upgrading if necessary.
Right. Like you say, recalibrating, all those things they're very necessary, right? Like if for our project, we're doing launches, every couple of weeks, and then y'all are doing a multi-week launch, right? It's like if you see me at least during those launches, during those 3 year periods where we're actually monitoring consecutively, you see me at least twice during that time. In a matter of 3 weeks to come and say, hey, like, let me check in on this, or we're checking on that. This isn't working. We're going to make sure this is right. And so we have to adjust for that, right? Like, even these things are powered by solar panels. The solar panels have to be moved sometimes to make sure they're catching the right sunlight. It's so many. If you have a bad day, like a bad weather day, like we had the other day, like, that it affected a lot of the monitors that they couldn't get enough sun, and so they weren't able to charge, which means that they don't operate, they can't charge. So it's so many things we have to figure out. And I know that if I'm one person on the ground trying to figure it out with not just myself, obviously we have other folks who come in and always step in to help from the South Center and who come down from Colorado State even to address the monitors here, but I do worry, like, is the state actually coming out to do any type of maintenance on these monitors, or they just put them there and then eventually, however long it takes for them to finally say, oh, let's go check and see what's going on. This thing growing a whole wasp mess on it by then, like, by the time they've been out there. So I'm concerned about that part of it at one level. It's many other concerns, but like that's one of my concerns for sure is the maintenance and operation of a lot of things in the state have not been the best ever, and we all know that.
Especially when it comes to regulating industry. Oh, that's a lot of stuff for air monitoring. And we need that.
Yes.
And to make sure that we understand that when we go out to our community, we want to give them a real-time information about what's actually happening in our community, in their neighborhoods, near their schools, near their churches, everywhere that we are. We want to make sure that the air is clean, and we have the right to actually know what's in our air. Our health depends on it. Our livelihood depends on it. And the future of our children depend on it. So it's so important to have air monitors that are actually going to give us valid information and that we can trust.
Yeah.
And working in partnership with Colorado University it's just been a wonderful experience for us. And we know that they are taking every action possible to make sure that these monitors are going to be pristine.
Yes.
And that the information that we're going to have are going to be the best quality of information, because we need that as a community. And we want to be able to share that. It's so important that we know that people understand that if we can just alert them which direction this last plume is going, that could stop you from going outside. That can stop the students from get on the bus at the same time, or maybe not going on the playground.
Yeah.
Those monitors are so important to us, for us to even understand what chemicals are having the greatest impact. So, last Thursday I was really sick. I didn't understand why I had this headache that I threw up or whatever. You know what I mean? I might have to go back. I wonder if I can find out what was in the air that day.
Yeah.
And there it is. Oh, this plume of this was hovering over. Or, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just pollen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
we have to, we know.
Absolutely.
And knowing, knowledge is power.
100%.
Knowledge is power. I can say, I was exposed to this, and I want to make sure that we're testing at the doctor's office for this exposure, because, I have this information, and it's valid.
Tish, this is something that's so interesting. I think that the biggest part about air monitoring that people, the reason why we're even doing this in the first place, right, is when you're living this close to so many different, plants and facilities that, like you said, you can physically sometimes go out of your door probably and see, if you can't see to the plants, right? Like if you are close enough, you can see when things are shooting up in the air, right? When they're, flaring things. You can see the fire, which is a flare. You see the fire literally coming out the top of some of those little stacks. You see the smoke coming out of there. When I'm driving in from New Orleans, I can see the smoke, coming out of it. So all kinds of stuff. When I look down that horizon, right, I literally can see random flares happening, random plumes of smoke coming out, and same thing. I'm like, I wonder what that is, right? Yes. And realistically, at this point in time, we have no way of knowing. It's typically, right? There's not something that they're saying, hey, we're going to release XYZ at this time. The industry's not doing that.
They're not going to do that.
Right. And so, when you're that close to it, which if we can drive past it, if you can literally go down this river road right here, right, and run into all these plants, that something's coming out of there, but you don't know what it is.
Absolutely.
And so the biggest part about the air monitoring and the community air monitoring part about it is, if there's only a few, like a handful of, state monitoring devices across Louisiana as the whole, right? Like we can count probably on a few hands between us how many total monitors there are in the state, and especially in these areas. And we need the community air monitors too, because we're able to, like you said, actually know what's happening on your level too, right? This is at your eye level, at your breathing level. When we go outside and we put these monitors up, they're right where when you walk outside, what's hitting your nose?
Yes.
What's hitting, what are you breathing in? And though it may not be, not necessarily real time, right? Like we are collecting data that we can share in reasonable time right now. So still ever developing with this, with these tools and systems. But ultimately, it's like you want to know something. So at least you could say, you could go to your doctor and say, hey, this day I broke out in this rash or something happened to me. I was feeling really wheezy or something like that. And I went back to trace, I went back to look at the data that I know my monitors are doing. And it says that this is what was kind of going on in the air.
Right.
And maybe, the whole point about a lot of times Louisiana is they'll point out, the state will say, well, oh, there's no, you can't pinpoint the direct source. Like if you can pinpoint the source, then we can talk about it. Unless I can put a monitor up right next to that facility on their property, I'm not gonna. Like, how would I know if it's traveled 20 miles over, 15 miles, or 10 miles, or a mile?
Right.
I don't know that, and so it's like we're saying, it's very likely that whatever's going on over there, it's traveling, and whether it's from there or for the next one down, they're all traveling. The wind's going east, west, or whatever, north, wherever it's going, it's traveling this way.
Right.
How can that not be a thing, right? So maybe I can't pinpoint the direct source, but I know that these sources right here are not good no matter what.
Right.
And so it's to be able to just tell us like what's going on right here, right? And what can we smell? What can I, what do I feel coming in when I'm breathing, when I'm coughing? What's going on?
Yes.
So that's why I think the air monitoring part is just so important for us. Not like the ones that are these consistent ones that are measuring every couple weeks. I think are really just cool no matter what. Like even though they're cool. Like it's cool to say that when you're walking out the door, this is what's going on right here in your air. Like it's data that we have not seen before.
Right.
And that the state is not going to test for on that level, right? They're going to put the monitors wherever they so decide to put them, which
may not be where prevailing winds are going.
Exactly. And so it's something that I think really gets that hands-on effect in this community. Especially as people, not just as Black folks, but as poor folks, as Southern folks, we've always been, something that's always been at the crux, I think, of our community is that we talk about what's going on.
Right.
Like that we have to go through, we use our oral traditions to be able to go through and tell our community to talk to each other. And whether you Black, white, Asian, whatever Hispanic, wherever you are, right? Like literally we all still talk. We find a way to communicate because of the spaces we live in, and we commune in that way. And so I think it's important for community to be able to give and share information to our neighbors regularly and talk to each other. If industry's not going to talk to y'all, then it's and the state is going to talk to y'all. It's important for us to share between each other what's going on.
It's important to be a good neighbor in 100%. Every aspect, and the more knowledge we have, the more we should share.
100%.
It is definitely true, and we support each other. Having that responsibility, social responsibility to our community is so important, to our neighbors, to our family.
Yes.
Because honestly, my neighborhood, that's my family.
Yeah.
Everybody who I grew up with is there. We communicate. We're smiling at each other. My neighbor cutting my grass and, pulling my garbage can in for me, or, or vice versa.
Yes.
It depends on who's out there first.
Yeah.
We take care of each other.
100%.
And
even I think, because we coming from New Orleans, people might, I feel like sometimes people are like, well, it's a little bit different, right? Like we don't have the same exact, and I agree, we don't have the same exact things going on, but that doesn't mean you're not my neighbor, you're not my community, you're not my family. If I can drive right here 30 minutes away, who knows how far it's traveling down from there to here, there as well. We don't really know.
Whatever's in that river is going all the way down.
Exactly. And I remember actually one day I was over here not too long ago, and I saw one of the facilities kind of had something going out right into the river. Yeah. Like just on the kind of, it's kind of was hidden to the side, and I took a picture of it, and I was like, I know that ain't right. I don't know what it is, but I know it's not right. Yeah. And I had to be standing on the levee up where I was kind of to the back to see it. So I'm like, who knows what they're doing, right? Like you said, it's traveling down. That's, like traveling in our water, traveling through our soil, traveling in our air. And, as close as you go to the airport in Kenner from New Orleans, you see the flares. Yeah. Like, absolutely. And you could smell it. So we're not far. We're right here. We all are responsible for each other, especially along this 80-mile stretch. But I think even more like, the state of Louisiana, we're all responsible for each other.
Across the state, across the state. Wherever there's danger, we should be together advocating for everything to be safe for us.
Absolutely.
Because we need to be safe
and
healthy.
Yep.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. You are always so happy. She just, you just kind of bring that brightness in. You're just always smiling and so good about it. And your work is so important. And in advocacy, in general, you have to have that kind of innate thing. You know, like you're saying, you're coming from generations, and it shows. And I think it honestly magnifies with every generation as it passed by. Because I know your grandmother's like, "Whoo, this one here,
Yes.
she took it to the nth power. She's a chemical engineer. She's everything, and now she's out there pulling out batteries on."
OMG, what? Right? Like I said, I'm like, my grandmother was like, what you doing next? I'm like, maybe I should go back and get that doctorate for real in engineering or something. I don't know.
I think that you're getting the boots on the ground, hand to hand combat.
Yes,
right
I
now.
really am.
I
No,
like
for
that.
real. And people underestimate that experience, and
it's real.
we can come back to that in this whole conversation. People, like, you know, the powers that be, everybody, you know, kind of the folk like who are not directly in these communities underestimate the power of us doing things on the ground that matter, right?
Absolutely.
That like are responsible for each other, and ultimately that impact the state, like our local, it impacts us locally, but it goes further out.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, even if it's just little by little, we're showing incremental change. That's something that impacts everybody in the state of Louisiana, which ultimately impacts the country, which impacts the world. Like, but it comes from right here to start, to start it off. And that's something I hope. I guess that's something I do hope I can do. Like, if I can do just one little thing, like, that helps somebody just right here, down the street from me, down the road from me, even by me physically coming out and taking them batteries out or resetting your device out here to just know that it's something that's impactful. If I can do something that we hope can change this camera, with the camera, law, if I can do something that just impacts any of those things, I feel like I've done my something. Like, and I know it'll be more eventually, hopefully, but that's my something. Like, it's just right here. And
and everybody has that something.
Yes.
What we want to do is kind of spark that fire.
Mm-hmm.
We want to spark it, and we want to spark it into young people who look like us.
Yeah, you are. You are. You talking about me, but y'all are doing the work. Like, y'all are doing work that people otherwise wouldn't know, right? Like, maybe, like, I'm not saying not at all, but they would maybe have an idea but not know. And this work on the ground, this education y'all are doing consistently, y'all are making it known what's going on and not backing down.
We're doing our best.
Y'all are doing great. Y'all are doing amazing.
We want to take everybody with us. So.
Yes.
We want to take the whole community. We want to swoop everybody up.
They gonna come
and say, come on, let's understand
that
that the community all singing Kumbaya or something like but ultimately, we are our neighbor's keeper.
Absolutely.
We are our community's keeper.
Absolutely.
It's time for us to actually take responsibility and actually to nurture that flair that's in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Let us understand that this world, this earth depends on us.
Yeah.
Just like we depend on it.
100%.
And we have to be good stewards.
Yes. Stewards
of the earth.
Of the earth.
And it's a great thing to actually have young people and let them see people like you.
Yeah.
Who came through, and I don't think people call people nerds anymore. Thank goodness.
Is nerd a bad word?
I don't think so. I don't think it's like, yeah.
I never minded being a nerd.
I don't think that's a big deal at all. I can't imagine anything being taboo about wanting to know more and to do more.
Not at all. And I think it's about how we talk about it.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things. Is I feel like I am still pretty young. Like, I haven't even turned 30. I turned 30 in a month and a half or so. But it's like, I feel like I literally can sit in a space with anybody of any age range and talk about anything.
But like, me, being, I believe like 35.
Yes.
Notice I put, I believe like 35 until I climb my stairs. I understand the dynamics of youth and appreciate it.
Mm-hmm, okay, always. We have a good time together, regardless.
Yes, we do.
But I think that's important that we can talk about this like anything. Like, we talk about anything else. We can go talk with somebody who's 15 and talk about it, right? Like, we can go talk to kids and probably make it make sense, at least on some scale, for them.
Yeah.
And that's I think what we have to do. That's what we have to continue to do.
That's where we are. We are really want to just open the eyes of our young ones.
Yes.
Our young ones. And tell them how, going to school for environmental science, environmental job. Take that one class.
Yes, that one class. Take that one class.
And be inspired
to
do anything. And it could be anything. It could be sociology. It can be anything. I mean, I have some family members that I'm so proud of right now who, in high school, you would have never thought.
Yeah, but there's a place for everybody.
But they got that spark.
Yeah.
And once that spark was lit, they're running things.
Yes.
You understand?
I love it. There's a place for everybody. Absolutely. I do think so. That's true. From the littlest child to the eldest, adult. Like, there's a place for everybody in community and in the work that we do in advocacy, in education, like, and we have to just allow folks to know that there is a space. Like, we'll figure it out. We'll work it out how to make sure you know what you got to know, do what you got to do, whatever that may be. Use your gifts and your talents in whatever way that may be. But there's a space and there's a purpose and intention why I think everyone has to be a part of this work in some scale, right?
Right.
People don't even know sometimes the work that they're doing is still related to this. It's environmental justice in so many ways.
Doesn't have the label, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's about the future of our environment.
Absolutely.
And that's so important. So Bria, how do you encourage people? You know, when an individual shows up and they just are like, that's a lot. How do we encourage them that it only takes one person? How do we get people to understand that just advocating for themselves? Because this really for you. If you start caring about you enough to where you're ready to actually get in the movement, how do we inspire people to join the movement?
Ooh, I feel like this is something, if I was in law school right now, my law school friends would be like, girl, like, you have the answer for this already. One thing I was known for in law school was, like, people said they knew exactly what I cared about. Like, whenever I would come into a space, they knew because I never stopped talking about it. Like, it was on my heart, it was on my soul, it was on my mind. It was ingrained and engraved in every single conversation I had.
Yeah.
I could not be in a space without saying something about environmental justice,
right,
without saying something about the community garden I was working in, without saying something about the different, organizations that I was a leader in and that I was hoping advocating for student rights, whatever it may have been. Literally, I did so much stuff, and that's the one thing people would say. They knew what I was about. They knew what I was for, what I stood for. And, that's something I think I will say I prided myself in. Like, everything I cared about, I wore on my shoulder and on my sleeve. And, the thing I told people was, like, find your thing. But the way that I would help people to realize that my thing still was they thing too, right? Like, I care about this, but you should too,
right,
because of this. And I made it personal. I think you have to literally make it personal for people, right?
Yes.
Like, but make sure they understand. Even though I went to law school, even though I'm a lawyer and I have all that, whatever, all the letters behind my name, some, here and there, whatever they do. At the end of the day, I will want to talk to anybody at any scale, wherever they are, and be able to explain to them and talk to them. Not just explain, but have a conversation with them.
Yes.
About what's happening where they are, what are they concerned about, and where they stand right now in their lives. And again, whether that's a little kid, sometimes I go up to little kids and just be like, what's on your mind today? What's going on, right? Like, just talk to you to see what's happening in your brain. And I think it's about making things relate and making people realize, like, this also relates to you at some level, right?
Yes.
Maybe it's not the same way I think about it, but there's a way that it impacts you in a way you can think about it. And for me, that's, like I said, it's like I wear it on my sleeve. I just talk about it all the time, and I hope that I can just get somebody sparked a little bit to be able to, like, want to keep going with the conversation. Yeah. Sometimes I talk to people, they like, girl, stop talking to me, right? Like, and that's a reality. We have to deal with the truth of the matter is that everybody's not always gonna want to self-advocate also.
Right.
Now we want people to realize that you are your first advocate, right? And maybe sometimes your only advocate.
Yeah.
But everyone's not gonna automatically join in on it, right? But it's about just putting a little touch of something in their brain to make them realize, like, this is about you too, right? Yes. Like, this affects you too. This affects the things what do you care about?
Right.
I ask people that a lot. What do you care about?
And let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. And that's my intro, right? Just to see test the waters. Let's see if you want to talk about it. But once you, like, what's going on with you? What do you care about? What's going on with your day? How you feeling? Whatever. Those questions all, to me, when I start conversation, I'm also a yapper. So I talk for a living, literally, yes. So it never bothers me to get in the lift and talk to somebody in the lift about what's going on, right? Like, I can get in the lift, and I'm not even joking. I start talking about AI and data centers, and like regularly, like how they're harming Black communities. But it's another conversation. But yeah, I think that's number one. What it is finding the thing that y'all have in common. Something's gonna spark me to say, oh, okay, well then let me talk to you about, like, oh, I'm thinking about this, and what about that? And it's just about having authentic conversations, though, and not. I think it's about not coming to people with a problem that they have to fix all the time, but with just showing them that, like, your life relates to everything generally too, right? Like, let's make it, we just making it relate. We just having a conversation that we relate on something. And then people start to care about stuff more when they realize that they do have a stake in it. Like, they just do. I don't know. It's hard. It's a weird conversation, I think, sometimes, because it feels like, why do I have to help? Like, why do I have to help people to like realize that these things impact them. But like, why wouldn't I? Why shouldn't I? If I know, why shouldn't I feel responsible to help other people or to be there with other people, to talk to them about what's going on in their own lives and to recognize where we relate ultimately? Like,
Yes.
yeah, I don't just come out the wazoo like, you're being harmed, you're cancer, right? Like, I don't just come out like that, but I'm like,
One word.
yeah.
Talk with.
Yes, with.
With.
Yes, not at.
With, not at.
Mm-hmm.
I have this habit of just, I got a list. Here we are the worst in this and the worst in, and I'm like, okay, you have to go back and it's like every day I have to fine tune my passion.
Yep.
Because I can get caught up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the thing about it is people need to understand that they do make a difference. And if you talk, there's always someone else that's gonna listen.
Yes.
Even if it's just to your immediate family, you're advocating. And just a little knowledge that you have and a little passion can change just the person right next to you.
Yes.
In your lift,
Yes.
the person driving you, the person cutting your grass,
Literally.
the person at your mailbox that delivered you something. You know, I go out at Christmas, I make like little boxes of candy and give it out to the, put it in the mailbox and bring it out to the people that's picking up my garbage and stuff. And I mean, it's the same thing, but I also talk about a little bit about the environment.
Yeah.
A little bit about it. And it's with and not at or even to.
Yes.
It's
and
with.
Sometimes I don't, like I say, sometimes I don't just start out with that, right? Like
can't.
I usually don't. Most times people I got to get a little bit deeper in conversation with you for me to actually get to the point about the environment, to be honest with you. Maybe sometimes it just comes up naturally, depends, but I'm starting off authentically, just like, I authentically want to know what is going on with you as a person. Like, it's just something I care about. So that's how we started.
I think that's something that's part of people who are in the position that we're in. So we're already that person that cares about someone else's, how they're doing, their well-being.
Yep.
And I think that's a part of being someone that does outreach and communicates and that's passionate about community. And it's fundamentally, I care about you and how you feel.
Yep.
And I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff, but I want to tell you what's working sometimes. Sometimes I want to talk to you about it, and I want to influence you. I do want to influence you to understand that just one person can make a difference.
Yeah.
One small group of red shirt wearing people can make a difference. Because we do. We make a difference.
Yes.
We are empowered. We do matter. That vote does count, especially local.
Yep.
That vote does count.
Absolutely.
So it is one by one, person by person, with.
Yes, with. And meet people where they are. That's the one thing I want to say. If I could say one more thing, is like, I recognize sometimes when we get so deep into the kind of work that we do typically make our entire personality about like advocating for the environment, right? And it's like, yes, that is extremely important. I would never say it's not one of the higher important things, generally in what's going on in our communities and our environment. But for people, especially people who are asking to self-advocate, they're advocating for themselves in probably a lot tougher areas first too, right?
Absolutely.
Like first they're advocating for themselves in their own home sometimes, right? They're advocating for themselves in being able to have food on their table and be able to have enough money to provide for their family.
Jobs.
They're advocating for themselves on so many other levels that, to make sure their children are taken care of, to make sure that they get that proper education, whatever that may be, right? I can't start out with them with, do you know that you're being polluted?
Poisoned.
Yeah, like, I just can't, right? They're going to be like, yeah, I know I am in every part of my life, right? Like, they're going to be like, you mean by the food? You mean by the, like, what's today?
Which
right,
one?
Exactly, right? By the government, who is it today?
Yeah.
And so I really pride myself when I talk to people on, again, starting with them. Like, and talking with them, having a conversation with them about what's going on with them. What are they most concerned about? And you probably could tell a little bit that I've done a lot of political work too, like just with getting people to get out the vote, to vote, to do our civic duty. And that's something when I go to people and tell them, like, I don't go there and say, like, you should vote for XYZ because of it. I never do that.
No.
I start off my conversations always was like, well, look, I'm just out here trying to talk to people about getting out the vote. What are you concerned about in your community? What are you concerned about for yourself? What's going on in your neighborhood that's concerning you?
Right.
Always. Because that usually gets me less slam doors.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And less, people actually want to talk once you want to talk to them. with them, not to them, with them, right? Like, and yeah, some people just want you to listen too.
Yes.
So I try to do that. I think that's where we got to start. We got to start with listening first. So what people's concerns are, then we can bring them our concerns about, and tell them also this should be their concerns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So Bria, tell me what you would describe as a good neighbor.
This is such an interesting question. I think ultimately a good neighbor is about us really being in community. It's about us being willing to be inconvenienced a little bit for the sake of each other. Like for the sake of the betterment of each other.
Yes.
And that's hard. Like I keep seeing people talk about, like literally the term I keep seeing is like being in community means you have to be willing to be a little bit inconvenienced, which means you got to go out your way a little bit. You have to be willing to step outside typically your own box to make sure that everyone else is also taken care of, right? Especially if you want yourself to be taken care of in return when you need it. And so I think it is that a lot of us are getting too okay with just being in ourselves, that we don't recognize that like we have a responsibility to be a good neighbor, a good community member, a good person, to the people around us who are impacted by the things we're also impacted by, whether we realize it or not.
Right.
So yeah, it's in community, like really responsible. I'm responsible for the next person's well-being.
Right.
And I'm gonna, just like the Bible says, I'm treating my neighbor like I want to be treated as well.
Right.
I genuinely believe that. Like as I get older, I recognize that even if it's just a smile, that's being a good neighbor, right? Like if I walk out and I smile at you rather than I'm having a bad day, I'ma smile, because if I frown, you frown. Now we both upset.
Yeah.
I'm not being a good neighbor when I'm not inviting positivity or the well-being of both of us to be better.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just the little things sometimes
Smiles
too.
make such a difference in people.
Such a big difference.
Because they're like, oh, look at you smile.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Try not to scream.
Exactly. Okay. Right. But you didn't scream, right? You're smiling. They're smiling. We all
put that
smiling.
energy out there. You can't put that energy out there all
No.
the time. There's a time to do all of that.
Yes.
And it's so important for us to get, to have all of those things.
Yes.
But it is a great idea of being with and having a sense of community and understanding that self-preservation, that is mandatory. It also means that it needs to go outward as well.
Mm-hmm. Literally.
It has to be outward.
I can't be okay if people around me aren't also okay. And that's not just about my family. That's literally about my community.
Yeah.
If I walk outside and my community is in turmoil, if my community is in turmoil and going crazy, I'm gonna be like, whoa, I'm not right either, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what it's about. If I'm good, you're good. If you're good, I'm good. That to me is what being a good neighbor is.
Yes.
And even if I don't live right here or I'm not here all the time, I know that if I'm good, I'm making sure also everybody else around me is good. I'm not gonna do anything that harms or hurts anybody else who is around me.
Right.
Or who I care about. So yeah. I think that's what I believe is being a good neighbor, and I hope people could be a good neighbor to me too. I feel like I got some pretty good neighbors.
I think we'll be fine. I think we should
neighbors.
be a good neighbor today and go check these air monitors
Okay,
out.
yes, we
How
should.
about
I got
that?
a few to go check on before we leave.
Yes,
So
we'll
yes, I
travel
will go make
together.
sure we are in operation, so we can make sure that those people down there, the plants and everybody else, also trying to be some better. We could try to make them hopefully be some better neighbors eventually.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tish.
Thank you for joining the Good Neighbor podcast. Let's talk about everything that we can do to be a better person and a better neighbor. Thank you.